What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. I've got Gary Judge with me from across the park, and we've got Muskie, our producer, in the studio too.
What's happening?
First off, Patreon bet won this weekend. We had a nice 6-1, 7-1 winner. Gary seems to get better prices wherever he bets.
Odds checker. I'm
going to start putting odds checker in because, yeah, Gary always tells me he gets a better price than I advertise. But either way, we got the 3 homes in, 7-1. I think that's a plus £19 level stake. We've had
based on £10 each week, isn't it?
£10 each week we bet for those who aren't on Patreon. Sign up now, by the way, because we've had, I think, 3 winners. Since 6 weeks, we've had 3 winners. We've had 5 out of 6 now twice. Basically, we land the 6. That's your Patreon paid for all year.
And the rest.
Yeah. And the rest.
It's like 60 to 80 to 1, somewhere in that range. So if you put, what do you say, a quid on the...
We put £2 on the 6 away. So yeah, you win for 3 years Patreon, basically.
Yeah.
So
just send the money straight to us.
Yeah. So yeah, buzzing to get that. So yeah, we're up 6 weeks in. We also paid out £100 this week on the fancy football. So nice one, everyone who joined that. Sean McKee won. Low scoring weekend.
Yeah, I got 39 points and I was gutted with it. And then when I looked through the league, I think it was like middle of the road somewhere.
Yeah, I think he won it with like 70 or 80 or something, was it?
60 something, wasn't
it? I'm not too sure after the Monday game.
There was so many low scores. Like,
he was texting me saying like, and I knew he was. Did he text you as well?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I knew he was top, but I didn't know whether anyone had anyone on the Monday game, and they didn't. So he won.
Didn't text me. Sorry, my friends.
The difference between taking a punt and not having Haaland as his captain was the difference. Like, well, I don't think many people will
that is the secret on the sly, isn't it? And like you say, the amount of times where you go, I didn't put him as my captain, but you need to find someone else as your captain, don't you? No one else has got really.
Well, I went for Maddison.
Yeah.
And he was horrendous. He got 2 points.
I put 3 Spurs players. I had Son, Maddison and Richarlison in my team. Richarlison give me a bit of a return.
You are not one of those Blues that just blindly stick with like Everton-related players.
Richarlison, Everton-related. Play for Everton, you think?
He is.
Doesn't play for Everton.
No, but he has got that kind of Everton.
My logic.
Hasn't he?
No.
He has.
Behave.
Are you kidding?
He even scored against you. Scored once against you.
But you all love him like you do with Ferguson.
I wouldn't say no. Behave.
Musk. Back me up
Richarlison as much as Ferguson. Come on.
He has got the cult, like...
He did. I wouldn't say cult. Yeah. I wouldn't say cult. He had
he's
a
like
bit of
your Divock Origi, and he's a poor man's Divock Origi.
Poor man's Divock Origi. I mean, ability-wise, I question that. I don't think he scored as many big goals as Origi has.
You've got to be in big games to score big goals, though.
Exactly. I'll take that. Fair enough. Scored at Anfield, like... but that was the season when... It didn't
exist. It didn't count. No,
you just didn't win the league.
No, that was a full season where it doesn't count. Only 2. We already had the League One. Anyway, by the time no fans were allowed in.
No, he didn't.
I think we needed to play one more game. Anyway,
behave. Why was you're mad?
You messing?
No, behave.
We were about 20 points clear when it went behind closed doors.
20 points, God. Your memories. If anyone's watched the podcast the other week, Andy's memories playing up on him again.
Started already. The derby in a few weeks. We're just getting warmed up. So good effort, Sean, who won the fancy footy. And get support on Patreon if you don't mind. You get access to our Wednesday shows. We have Kieran coming on talking about property. And we have a good chat on a Wednesday, us three. It's really enjoyable. So get involved. Right, this week in sport, I've just been driving for 10-12 hours. I'm a little bit ratty, and talking about boxing isn't helping because it's just putting itself into disrepute once again. The few things I've just got, and then you can probably try and defend it. We've got Conor Benn fighting this.
Defend it?
Well, I just know you're a bigger boxing fan than me, and you can just try and defend it anyway because you got Conor Benn fighting this weekend in Orlando with Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, DAZN, all making money despite the fact that he hasn't answered the questions and faced the music in the UK. You've got Fraser Clark's last opponent, I was going to say Soboslai, then he plays Liverpool. Sokolowski, I think his name is.
He's probably on more drugs than Sokoslai or whatever his name is. He's on the clop juice.
He's just the clop juice on those inhalers. He's just been given a 3-year ban for taking drugs. And you've got Tyson Fury holding up the heavyweight division. He's talking about fighting John Jones after Ngannou in a boxing match, then fighting him in a cage, and then riding off into the sunset to Hollywood to make a Hollywood movie. All the meanwhile not fighting Usyk or Joshua and holding up the heavyweight division. Cue Gary to say how boxing is great.
No, I think you can always find stories, can't you, to paint certain sports in a negative light.
Like it's on the papers and the headlines every day.
So Man United. What about Mason Greenwood? What about like Anthony? What about like that's just one football club? You could. What about Saudi in football? Like you could find a million stories in football if you wanted to. That probably trump this. The Spain thing.
Granted, but there are always a lot of. Granted, because it's a bigger sport and it's a bigger spectacle, there's always nice things,
there's a lot of nice things and good things happening in boxing. If you watch or attend boxing shows, real boxing shows on a weekly or regular basis, I'm not saying I do, but there's a lot of people out there, they'll be banging their heads against the brick wall, which I guess is kind of what you're getting at, saying this isn't boxing, this is a spectacle.
The purist will be
taking it away from what the real sport is, and this isn't the real sport. Like I would argue that again, if the level of testing that's going on in boxing right now, which is obviously increased based on recent findings and recent stories, if this level of testing was going on in every sport and the frequency of it, you'd be finding just as many drug sheets in every sport.
I think that is the unfortunate thing for boxing. You know, in football, you'd have 30, and what's a squad for players match day? You're looking 25-man squad or something? Yeah. So that's 50 players just for one game. How many games go on up and down the country?
Random one or two got tested.
Yeah. So the chances are, And
how often they get tested on the training ground? That's just like on a match day, and it happens more on a match day, particularly in the high-profile games, World Cups, European Champions Leagues, etc. There's a bit more testing that goes on that UEFA and FIFA enforce, but it's very loose. I mean, you think back. And again, what football does well, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, and the Premier League and the FA do it well. Whenever there is a drug cheat, invariably that's found, they brush it under the carpet. Not because they want to
deal with it in-house more.
Yeah, they're conscious of the mental health side of it and the fact that these people could be going through issues and there's a reason why. And also not to bring the game into disrepute as well. So you'll normally find there's an injury. Someone's out.
I think with that though, the problem with boxing, why they can't really do that though, is because if you're a footballer, you're getting paid weekly regardless. If a boxing match is suddenly being cancelled and one fella's now not getting paid because someone's a drug cheat, there's no doubt things going on behind the scenes, going leaking stories. This isn't happening, not because of an injury, it's because he's failed this, and that's why it's a bit harder, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also a massive safety thing as well, isn't it? In football, you're not going in to punch someone's head in.
I think though what frustrates me, and from a boxing from a purist point of view, listen, the admiration I've got for boxers, for what they put the bodies through, unbelievable. It's just the hypocrisy on like the Eddie Hearn, like you rightly say, there's more drugs testing getting done now, but Eddie Hearn is almost on one hand saying, match rumour, testing more fighters than ever. However, I'm also going to take a guy who's failed one over to America to fight because he can't get a license in the UK because I can make loads of money on him. So like the hypocrisy in that is frustrating. Albeit saying that, I can see both sides of it, because if you're Conor Ben and he wants to resurrect his career, then
and again, look,
have to fight at some point.
I don't think there's any smoke without fire, and I'm not a believer that there was no truth in this. Exactly. It's
eggs and Canelo's beef apparently,
but
it's some steak and eggs every morning, that isn't it?
But if it's inconclusive, Eddie Hearn's job now going forward, and obviously he's maintained throughout, hasn't he, that Conor Ben was innocent, but his job now is to promote his fighter and to make the sport and his shows as safe as they can be. Now, there's definitely a degree of hypocrisy there if one of his fighters has been under scrutiny for so long, but at this moment in time, I think the cheats being outed the way they are is a deterrent more than anything else. And you can take it how you want. You can take it from your side and go, here we go, another drug cheat, blah blah, but the fact that they're being outed and they're being exposed, like
surely a positive.
I mean, Dillian White, I haven't heard from him in quite a while now, and we shouldn't either. And I think that type of message now to the fighters out there is,
like you say, it is dangerous.
You can't compete. You can't compete and expect to try and cheat the sport, cheat your opponents, and put them in danger.
Yeah, maybe in terms of them finding more as well, it's a bit like I was saying the other week, there's been more yellow and red cards because the rules have changed, or because there's been situations where the referees have said, well, now that's deemed as a yellow card, so we'll see more than we have in previous years. So if they test them more, they'll find more. But then hopefully then, as Gary was saying then, it's going to make people go, shit.
Which is the same
there's
principle.
There's more testing, so I've got to stay clean now. Because I don't know if they're going to knock on my door.
Right, though. It's the same principle around the time wasting. That's my attitude around the time wasting. If you're sick of them adding 10 minutes on, stop wasting time then.
Yeah. No,
So,
I get it.
you know,
I'm being a bit harsh, mate. I'm, like you said, been ratty driving all day. So yeah, you've got that. You've got Joyce and Zhang fighting again this weekend. One little interesting point I saw this week, which brings on a bit of a side debate if you fancy having. One of the things Joyce potentially done wrong last time was he coming a lot lighter than he was used to. They're talking now about
Zhang was heavier, wasn't it, as well?
A lot, I think stone and a half heavier. And I think it was the radio or whatever podcast I listened to, you know, they were talking about how heavyweight boxing has changed over the years.
Yeah.
You think back to the Mike Tyson days, him kind of coming into fights around like the 15, 16 stone mark, and now you look at like Zhang or the likes of Tyson Fury, more like the 19, 20 stone. It does beg the question, you know, a prime Mike Tyson coming in at 15, 16 stone at 5'10", fighting a Tyson Fury at 6'7", 6'8", coming in at 20 stone. You know, who wins?
I think Tyson Fury blows him away. Not blows him away, but I don't think Mike Tyson gets near him.
See, like,
I'm not a
disagree.
Like I'm a Mike Tyson fan in the sense that like I love watching his reels and stuff, and as a personality, he's a complex person, and now he's obviously still around and whatever. I love Mike Tyson for Mike Tyson, apart from the really brutal stuff that he got up to. But his resume, yeah, that stuff that's not very.
That stuff, yeah. Which, by the way, just to name drop,
that's not funny, by the way. But
no, I actually met him, right, and he denies that. So like, he's
yeah,
like,
well, that's.
Well, he was like, though, I went to a Q&A with him, and he was like, listen, I've done my time. I'd happily admit it now. I got set up that day, and he was like, he's like convinced Don King was to do with all that, and he's like.
John King was a piece of work, like.
Yeah, and I just thought it was really interesting. Obviously, not making fun of the crime he committed, but like he was like, listen, I didn't fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to my point though, and certainly not sidetracking, but again, his show reels, his first 19, 20 fights or whatever. The minute Mike Tyson faced proper fighters who had more about their game and you know, knew how to manoeuvre themselves around the ring and had different tools, he struggled. And I know he struggled mentally during periods as well, but you know, the way that he was dealt with by Lennox Lewis, the battles and the troubles he had against Holyfield, etc., you know, which led to more drama. I just think against an operator like Tyson Fury, just thinking about his ring craft, I just don't think.
I don't know, lad. I think maybe I've watched too many reels of him just ducking in, getting in close to the body and just unloading. I'm just thinking.
Couldn't do it against Lennox Lewis though, and Lennox Lewis at that. I mean, put Lennox Lewis against Fury, and I think he causes him problems. Like, and it would be that'd be a very interesting fight because they've got a similar skill set. But
it'd be great to see though, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, of course it would. Yeah, but
it'd look like a bit of a freak show. I think
cruiser. He's a bit like a cruiser, isn't he? Really, if he'd be like an Usyk almost coming.
He's
into
5'10".
Yeah, but Usyk, come on, Muskie, I mean, Usyk and Mike Tyson. I know Mike Tyson packs a bigger punch and stuff, but you can't seriously tell me that if you put Usyk against Mike Tyson, that Mike Tyson was hit him many times.
In terms of the boxing brain, Usyk's got that boxing brain now.
Yeah. And that's why I think
it
he
allows
can
him to adapt.
See, that's why I think
fighters.
he can operate at heavyweight because he can avoid being hit.
It's just how fast Tyson could move against someone like Tyson Fury.
But he got hit a lot, Tyson, as well, though. Mike Tyson got hit a lot.
It's all kind
hit people.
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll never know. But
we will never know.
I found it fascinating on the Zhang fight because, again, the weight, you know, you're looking at a guy 2 stone heavier than potentially what we're talking about could be 5 or 6 stone heavier. But revenge or repeat for you this weekend?
Revenge. I think Joyce should have learned from the fight. I think he was through by the weight for one. I think he underestimated Zhang, whether he admits that or not. The southpaw style he never really adjusted to. I think he's had time to adjust to that. It's make or break for him. He knows that. I think Zhang is almost like going to dine off that win now. I think it was just as much a shock to him, I think, as Joyce. So yeah, I fancy the revenge, and the bookies have got pretty much a 50-50 fight. I think if anything, Zhang might be the slight favourite, but it's pretty much even money on both fighters. You can probably get 2 or 3 to 1 for Joyce on points, which I strongly fancy. I don't think Joyce is going to take too many risks. Unless, you know, he's clearly dominating them and he's got a chance of a knockout. But, you know, whoever wins this fight will become the interim WBO, and I think that's a massive opportunity for Joyce, so he'll be looking to take it.
100%, but then to bring it back to one of my moans again, you've got Tyson Fury sitting at the top, who again has said he's got Ngannou, then he wants to box John Jones, then he wants to jump in a cage with him, Then he wants to ride off into the sunset and make Hollywood movies. He's just holding up the division, which
Yeah.
is really, really unfair on everyone else.
No, the board needs to step in then and just say, look, you need to vacate, or you've got this many days or this many months to take your mandatory challenges. They can't just allow him to just, as you say, sit at the top of that division and deny other fighters the opportunity.
Fighters' careers are so short as well. I mean,
Yeah.
remember Peter with the Olympics, and he had that decision to make because of COVID. The Olympics got pushed back, and he had this big decision to hold on for the Olympics or to turn pro, and it's all this indecision.
And that's just like 1 year.
One year. Boxers, careers are so short, and it's on one hand, I think Tyson, good on you, go and make as much money as you can.
Yeah,
but then for everyone else, I think, come on, man, just you're holding up the line.
He can still do that and just get the belts back, though.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
he needs to do something. So yeah, that's boxing. Quickly on the Rugby World Cup, I listened to Simon Jordan's podcast this week with Lawrence Dallaglio. Got me in the mood a bit more for the Rugby World Cup. Great listen. What a captain he was and what a leader he was. Brilliant to reminisce about that 2003 World Cup with Johnny Wilkinson again. Really good. And again, they spoke a little bit about some of the troubles that this current England team's got. They won again the second game of the World Cup.
Can't score tries.
But again, yeah.
Saying that though, the World Cup,
they're kicking a
team,
lot.
the World Cup team that Dallaglio won it with and under Woodward, they weren't a massive try scoring team either. But
Well, he talks about Woodward's impact and his effect, and how he was a disruptor when he come into the game. And listen, he nearly went and done that in football. He went to Southampton, didn't he? And
he didn't even get close to doing it.
No, but I mean, he tried to kind of impart. He tried to be a disruptor.
Fish out of water, yeah.
So it was fascinating listen, by the way, with Lawrence Dallaglio. Really good. And again, he spoke about this England team. The way the Rugby World Cup's structured is basically all the good teams are on one side and England are on there on the other. So they're probably going to face a decent team in the quarters. And it sounds like from all the experts that they're going to probably get knocked out in the quarters. I think Ireland and France are the two favourites. So it'll be interesting.
There's a game last week, by the way, and if anyone wants to, again, like you were saying, warm up to the World Cup, watch the Wales-Fiji game. One of the best matches you'll ever see. Forget about rugby, whatever, rugby, footy, anything. Unbelievable. The Fijians are absolute animals. Fijians.
It's only me getting stuff wrong. Like.
Yeah, but the beasts, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're absolute specimens, whereas the Welsh are a bit more crafty. And it was unbelievable.
Well, we had
Right
a few Fijians in the Marines and like playing rugby, and you just see three British lads holding
Just
on to
holding
one,
on.
just one
Yeah,
Fijian, just running,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Like something off a
big men.
something off a cartoon.
I didn't realise as well, there's only one Northern Hemisphere team, England, who've won the World Cup, It's either Australia, New Zealand or South Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah, fingers crossed there, maybe Ireland could do it this year.
Ireland's got a serious chance, yeah.
One thing I wanted to pull you up on, you've done this a few times to be fair, said something and it's actually played out perfectly.
Pull me up on it? How do you mean?
As in
credit
like,
me?
yeah, credit you, sorry.
Pull me up the other way around. Out me.
I mentioned last week that Frankie Dettori was having his final race in one of the classics in Britain, and his horse was the favourite, and I just fancied Frankie to win it no matter what he's on, because he's that type of personality, that type of character. After we recorded it, he's since changed horses, and basically you were talking about the Frankie effect, that it probably, if he wasn't on it, it wouldn't be the 3-1 favourite, it'd maybe 6, 7, 8 to 1. He ends up changing horses because his horse didn't like the ground, the other horse did. That horse then drifted to 6, 7, 8 to 1, and the horse he picked went in and went off, I think, 2-1 favourite. So it was exactly the Frankie effect. It ends up coming second, but he did make the right choice because his other horse come, I think, 5th. But again, it just shows you that, in horse racing, there's so many variables with the ground, the horse, the owners, the jockey.
Yeah, that's it. And if you are watching or you're following big races like that, and you maybe not a seasoned punter, which most of us aren't, normally the big jockeys are the clue in terms of who the strongest horses are, and the market generally then dictates that, because they'll normally get a choice from the owner. Look, the owner will say, who do you want to ride? And
it has happened though where jockeys have changed, and then it's gone.
In the Grand National it's happened a lot.
And
the Gold Cup as well, a couple of times.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And then the other one I thought was mad as well this week. Oh, sorry, before we go on to the run, tennis. Only a quick one on the tennis because it whetted my appetite a little bit. Nadal came out this week and said that there was a possibility of him looking on teaming up with Alcaraz in the Olympics for a game of doubles.
If Alcaraz will allow it.
Well, fair point, yeah. I mean, Alcaraz could probably do the singles and doubles, he's that good, but I think it was more Nadal thinking, I can keep my career going a little bit here. I can kind of take my foot off the pedal. And
it's not the same level as, I think you were saying, the same level of physicality, is it different? But it's a different game.
Yeah.
It's a bit like going from 11-a-side footy to 5-a-side footy to some extent. There's a different skill set required, but yeah, that'd be
great if he could do that.
Yeah, it'd be some.
I think he was only teasing about it, but if it comes off, it'd be great.
Yeah.
And the other thing I see with him as well, apparently he's a big Madrid fan, and he, I don't know why he got asked, but he got asked about being one day president of Real Madrid, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's I'd love to do that one day." So,
but again, it's an election, isn't it? They choose and you can't imagine many Madrid fans or that'd be as influential or popular as him.
No, imagine that going from that tennis number one to now president of Real Madrid. The other thing as well, which I think we just need to actually take a minute and just say wow to, is the women's 5k record was smashed in 14 minutes by Gadaf Sigay from Ethiopia. She was about 0.4 of a second of going sub 14. She broke the record by about 5-6 seconds. What the really frustrating thing for me is when you 5k in 14 minutes, for those people who don't run, that won't mean anything. If you're listening to this now on a Friday, right, at some point over the weekend, go for a run, go and run 5k. And if you are fit, whatever, you might get around 25 minutes. If you're a little bit fitter, you might get around 20. I think very few people will go sub 20. Now imagine how hard it's to go 14 minutes. It is a ridiculous pace, and it's really frustrating. I know me and you run, Musk, you do as well. I don't think people realise though, like the level that is. It's like, it's insane. Like it is insane.
Yeah, like 5k is like 3 miles, 3.1 miles, isn't it? So you're talking like 4 minutes.
4.5 minute mile.
4.5 minute mile.
Wow.
That's absolutely
Do you
insane.
know, to even keep up that pace for 100 metres would be tough.
For anyone who has like different apps and stuff, who deals in
kilometres.
2 minutes 48
per
kilometre.
Like, just go and run over the weekend and just get.
Well, I remember during lockdown, because you're just doing like different exercise stuff, and I remember one week or for a couple of weeks just to mix it up, I said I'm just going to sprint as fast as I can for a mile. I've worked out like a little bit of a circuit round our, like at the estate or whatever, and the fastest I could do was about, I think it was like, I got below 5, it was like 4 minutes 50 whatever, and I nearly killed myself. I nearly like fainted at the end of it.
That's for one.
That's for one.
Yeah.
To do another 2 of them, I couldn't even imagine.
The fastest I've ever went 5k was 18:07, and that was 5 minutes 50. So that's like 1 minute 50 per mile. It's like it's ridiculous. So fair play to her. Unbelievable.
Per kilometre?
No, per mile. I done
1 minute 50 per mile.
Yeah, extra.
Oh, sorry.
Extra.
Sorry, I thought you
were
1
slower.
minute 50.
I was 1 minute 50 slower.
What you mean? You ran a mile in 1 minute 50.
So fair play to her. Absolutely unbelievable.
Like Bannister look like a mug.
You had Gareth Bale. He's became a playable character after us talking about him last week. I'm sure some people must listen to this podcast in like some big organisations, because we talk about our stuff and then a week later things happen. He's now a playable character in the PGA Tour video game.
That'll slide Patreon. Just imagine some fellas.
That's a bit mad, that though, innit? They've jumped the gun a bit there with that. I mean, at the end of the day, he's just an ex-footy player who really likes golf.
It's just a way of getting more sales, though.
Popular,
to play as Gareth Bale on the game, that gets more people who maybe don't like golf but like footy going, I'll download that game just to see what it's like.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Don't know whether I agree with that, but anyways, yeah, that's him. Should we move on to the main, because there's quite a bit
of footy, isn't there?
Well, one thing we can actually start with as well, and I listened to it on the radio today. We spoke a little bit about drugs then in football, in boxing. The big thing that's going on at the moment is they're doing a university study as well. I think they're working with, I think it's Loughborough Uni are working with the PFA on the use of Snus in football. It's the new epidemic.
It's not new, that, by the way.
Well, it's not new,
5,
but
6, 7 years.
I think it was Henrik Larsson who brought it over, apparently, from Scandinavia.
But I mean, it's been if you call it an epidemic, it's been like that for a good...
Yeah, so...
I think it's only just become more mainstream known the last year or so.
No, it's only been known by people outside of football. Like, I mean, I'm not going to mention the players, but I remember being in a party. It was easy 8 years ago, and there was 10, 11 players, and 9 of them had it.
Really, yeah? And it's not illegal.
These are 5. Yeah, no, it's not illegal.
So for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, Snus is basically, it's... well, originally, I learned today, it was basically to people who smoke, it was to give them their nicotine kind of fix without having to go outside and smoke and the smell, etc. So it's just like a little kind of pouch, almost like a tea bag, if you like, of nicotine, that you just put it between your gum and your lip. Yeah. You speak normally, everything, no one knows type thing, you've got it in. And
a slow release.
It was kind of from Sweden, and it's been brought over, and now it's rife in football. But everyone, literally what I learned today from this radio chat on TalkSport was everyone is using them, to the point some of them are addicted to them. Some of them are people, some players are seeking help. It's rife in the academies. So what they're trying to do is the PFA are trying to kind of, which sounds stupid now that you've just said it's been along for a while, but the PFA stance on it was we're trying to kind of nip it in the bud before it goes too big. Even though I think that horse is already bolted. So they're just trying to find out, the health benefits of, or the non-benefits, I should say, because it sounds like it's not great for you.
No.
Even though you can buy them in Tesco's, etc., it's pretty, normal.
Yeah, you can buy ciggies as well, can't you?
And this guy, this health guy was just saying, like, sometimes there was some... Danny Murphy actually said he knew a player, he didn't want to name him, and he put the snus in the same spot in his mouth, and his gum started to dissolve away. And he had to get reconstruction surgery in his jaw. There's some pretty serious health risks to it, yet there's a lot of players who seem to be addicted to it, etc. One of the problems where a lot of football players struggle to sleep after a game, that nicotine as well also makes you not sleep, makes you lose your appetite. So there's other effects it has on it and stuff, and really interesting.
That's funny enough though, that's one of the reasons why they do use it, is to suppress the appetite so they don't put on weight.
Really?
So stay in shape, do you know what I mean? Because obviously in between games, some footballers, or a lot of footballers, will be like us, in between pre-season or whatever, in between games, they might eat a lot. If you're using that, you're suppressing your appetite, therefore you're less likely to have issues with your conditioning in that sense. And
apparently that it's so many more times addictive than cigarettes. You only have to use it 3 or 4 times and you start getting hooked on it. I know a few mates who aren't even in football who are really addicted to it. You go for a beer with them and straight away they're popping one in. So
that's the thing. I've mainstream wise, people outside the footy, I've hardly ever seen anyone.
Well, the only people I know outside the football who do it are people in the military.
Oh, right, okay.
It's really big in the military as well. So I've actually tried it, right? I was with Musk when we tried it. So
don't say we. I
no,
didn't
Musk
try
never
it.
tried it.
I was there.
I tried it. My mates had the military were out. And I said, what's that? So anyway, I had to go over and just fell asleep for half an hour.
we paid to go to boxing as well, so paid a pretty penny to go to boxing.
About and 200-300 quid for ringside seats, and I just fell asleep for half an hour. I wouldn't advise having it. I wouldn't advise having it anyway. But I had it after 7 pints, and it just set me off, made me feel sick, got a headache, felt like I was going to be sick. I did sleep for half an hour, woke up, drank 2 pints of water, and then I was all right.
Oh my God!
But yeah,
it's good to have it. You should go with the PFA around the clubs.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting anyway. The whole drugs thing. Right, where should we start? We've got a great little list here. Start off at the top. Brighton against United at the weekend. Absolutely battered them. I didn't actually watch the game, seen the highlights. United, I don't know whether it was United being so awful or Brighton being great, but the point was the money United have spent compared to what Brighton have spent, 16.2 million. What Brighton are kind of playing with there compared to the vast amount United have spent over the years. And I don't just mean under Ten Hag. I've seen, it must have been one of what you guys put in the group or on Twitter today. You can't ever, if you're a United fan, you can't have this argument of we haven't signed decent players. They've signed everyone. From when Solskjaer was there.
That's the bit that kind of annoys me about the whole Glazer thing. Yeah,
it annoys me as well.
Don't get me wrong, they haven't invested in the club in general, have they? And it's almost like they're throwing money at it just to see if it sticks. And there's a lack of strategic and whatever in the culture, blah, blah, blah. But they put some money in.
They've spent
the club have spent some money. I know it's not necessarily their money, but the club has spent enough money to be successful.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you were winning leagues now, you'd be moaning about the Glazers. And
No,
they should have, with the amount of money that's been spent, they should be winning leagues.
Some of the names that have come to this club over the years, remember like Cavani, Ronaldo, Fernandes, you know, Maguire when he comes 70, 80 million. Yeah. Like the money, I seen a list, it was unbelievable, the list. And like you say, I get the point at the top, the moaning about the Glazers by not pumping any money into the stadium, for example. But you can't moan at them about the players.
No, you can't.
Every manager from Solskjaer to Ten Hag and everyone in between have all been given the money to go and buy whoever they want. And it hasn't got them anywhere. So, and the other thing is, when United win, you don't really hear Gary Neville moaning much on Twitter about the Glazers. You don't really hear much rumblings. The second they put in a bad performance, it's not the players' fault on the pitch, it's the Glazers.
Well, speaking of Gary Neville, there was a quote in the summer that the Carragher's brought up. I think Carragher tweeted it or whatever. And it was Neville saying Klopp would swap his midfield for United's. Now, when you put that in, like...
That was in a pre-season.
Yeah,
it's
one
like
of them shows, the overlap
yeah.
pre-season show, whatever. I actually said to you, Muskie, I mean, it didn't sound like a ridiculous thing that he said at the time.
What was the midfield when he's talking about that, though? You've got...
He listed them, didn't he? He said Casemiro, Eriksen, Fernandes, Mount. He was talking about the central players. He was like, Klopp would swap his midfield for United's. It's not... It probably wasn't a bad...
It's not so inconceivable when you just, you know, before anyone's kicked the ball and you hear those names, you think, if you can hit the ground...
As you said, you said out of them, you'd only definitely take Casemiro, didn't you?
Based on last year. Last year, Casemiro thought had some belter games. Yeah. Obviously... was getting booked left, right and centre, but that's part of the game as well.
I think with Liverpool's midfield as well, there was so much uncertainty as well. You know, you didn't know how they were all going to gel together, new players coming in, how it was all going to work. But the lad Szoboszlai looks unbelievable. McAllister's been solid. I don't know what,
I don't think he should have played the other day. You could tell that. He was running through sand straight away.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. You know, we're talking about, you know, United there not being good enough. I think Ten Hag's got to take some responsibility there. Yeah. You've just said there quite rightly, McAllister looks so leggy. Half time, Klopp straight away, you're not playing anymore. Mixed it up. Liverpool completely new team second half. Ten Hag doesn't seem to have that tactical.
That's been levels at him quite a bit, and it was a little bit at Ajax to some extent. Is like he's got plan A, and that's the way he plays, and he's very stubborn. He doesn't really come away from that. Yeah, I think you've seen that the weekend. He didn't really have anything that could trouble Brighton.
No,
and the Brighton goals were very, very similar.
Yeah. They knew exactly how to get at them, didn't they?
He's come out as well and said, I don't think I've ever picked the best starting 11. Always injuries. I mean, that just seems such a poor excuse.
That's a Klopp excuse, that, isn't it?
Klopp excuse. One thing I've just noted down here, you talk about this whole kind of perfect 11, and when Liverpool, I know they're kind of getting labelled the Liverpool 2.0 at the minute. If we take it back to, you know, Liverpool of the, you know, 18, 19, 19, 20 season, that Liverpool Champions League final in Madrid, I think that was the first and only time that starting 11 played together.
And they'd be classed as the best 11.
Didn't again, did it? Wasn't that the one and only time? Yeah.
So you look at that, you think...
That's why I said it's a Klopp shout, that.
A Klopp shout. But it just proves, though, that whether it's a Klopp shout or not, Klopp's made it work.
I've just remembered something, by the way, and I don't know if you've picked up on this, but it was something that TalkSport ran with for like a good couple of hours because of the how mad it was. You know, you had the early kick-off against Wolves. Have you seen how many times now Liverpool have had that early kick-off versus the rest of the...
12.
You have had it 12 times. Yeah. The next nearest team is 6.
Spurs.
Wow. So he's got a point then.
And after that, it's like 3 and 4, 2 and 3.
Because he absolutely went after James Pearce, didn't he, in that interview?
Well, someone was saying, like, in the studio at the time, well, Liverpool should not have to play another early kick-off now until everyone else is caught up. Which... You know, it's
a fair point. Yeah.
And then after the next international, Liverpool have 12.
Yeah, again.
Are they?
Again, yeah.
And I know this is Liverpool's own doing, but being successful as they are, they've got more international players of like South America.
But you can't. I'm not having that one. So there's someone arguing. I think a caller calls in saying about the AFCON, saying that the league should stop while the AFCON's on.
No, I don't think that. No,
because.
You're choosing to have African players.
And it's the same with South American players. You know,
I'm not saying. I just
think have to travel further away.
It's ironic though that Liverpool are getting the game when actually, you know, if you wanted to be, if you like, fair.
But I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's fair, is it? To say, oh, Liverpool got loads of South American players. Let's let them have a longer break.
No, but it's not, okay then. Vice versa though. Liverpool are only half 12 kick-off because they've got more fans, so more. Sky aren't going to put fucking
we don't
Brentford
know.
and
We
Notts
don't.
Forest on.
We don't know, do we?
We
We don't know, do
But
we?
that is the reason why.
I'll be honest, and despite that, because I'd love for you to feel this way, I can't see why it's nothing but almost like, let's just wind Liverpool up here. I'm not messing.
It might be.
I'm not messing,
If
because
the next team down at half the amount,
it just doesn't make sense, does it?
But
Now, I know
mean,
you can say about that, but you've listen, around the world, we spoke about this before, Chelsea have got a huge global following.
Yeah.
You know, United obviously have, Man City have now. They're nowhere near us. Like, I think they're like 2s and 3s in terms
That's the concerning thing. I understand the TV going to Klopp, listen, we need to put Liverpool on because no one wants to watch Wolves against Forest.
That's fair enough.
I get that.
The rest of the teams.
But that's the concerning thing. If the likes of Arsenal, United, Chelsea, Man City aren't playing at least close
Arsenal,
to
I
9,
think
10,
one.
11.
I think it's 1 to the 12 that you have had. So whilst you have had 12 in that period of time, they've
That's
had
a
1.
joke, that.
Tottenham have had 6, but they're quite a bit away from
But
the
you know
others
what
as
thing?
well.
What you blue noses as well as everyone else will then have a go at, which is a little bit annoying. It's funny, but gets under my skin a bit. Is Klopp will get brandished with this kind of he's always moaning. It's like, well, hang on, but hang on, you just admitted then he's actually got something.
What did you come in here and say to us before? It's not your fault. It's your
but it's your responsibility.
responsibility. That's Klopp's responsibility. What's he moaning about?
Of course it
it's
is,
just
yeah.
responsibility. Get on with it.
Of course, but he is, isn't he? Clearly, and he's
not
doing
getting
well.
on with it. He doesn't get on with it. He's just moaning, isn't he? Every
But
time.
he's probably had a
He
moan.
could do it without moaning.
And then he could, but he's probably trying to get the point across. And the point is, it's unfair.
If you don't highlight it, the problem doesn't get solved.
Exactly,
and they crack on. If you want to maybe bring more light to it, let more people see that.
But if his theory that Liverpool are getting picked on is correct, and there's genuinely people who don't like Liverpool, I think it's just making them laugh even more.
Oh, yeah,
100%. Yeah.
So like,
and I think without getting into it too much, because I will.
The PFL aren't there to make people laugh.
No. I think though as well.
It's making everyone else laugh.
Without going down a kind of and sounding like a bloody, conspiracy theory kind of Liverpool victim,
that's not you, is it?
like that. I think that the same can be said about the referee situation as well. I think sometimes, the referees, you think there's a high-profile game and there's certain refs who Klopp doesn't like who's come out and said it. It wouldn't surprise me if they just go, that'll be funny. It wouldn't surprise me.
The humans,
wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, I think it's United. Yeah, just compounded. I think it'd be unfair, by the way, to knock United and not actually talk about how great Brighton are.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't say I wrote them off, but I think when we did predictions, I said they'd have the biggest drop off this year. I felt
the players they let go,
the performance and the result that we had against them towards the end of last season, which in a weird way, that theory of mine has been vindicated by how poor we are now, and we haven't obviously changed our squad that much. They've actually let players go, but it's remarkable what Zerbi's done, and obviously it's not just been under Zerbi. Potter kind of started, but he's took it onto another level. The recruitment again has been phenomenal, but they've just got it shows the value of having a clear identity, style that the players buy into, energy and yeah, brilliant. It's just so good to watch as well. It's not like they're a team. We've seen a lot of teams in the Premier League era that have took, the league by surprise, if you like, with a certain style of footy, and it's been a little bit boring or passive.
Yeah.
These are in your face, and they're not 100%. Like a Bielsa Leeds as well, where the clubs, giving chances away left, right and centre. The fairly
just looks solid, don't
strong
they?
As well. Yeah.
I think for them, it's how long do they keep hold of him for? I think it won't take long. For example, if Chelsea keep failing,
Chelsea,
how long is it before he starts getting? Yeah, interesting one. But yeah, big fan of him.
Just while we're on the Premier League situation, obviously with the early kickoffs, one thing that's just come out this week is they're going to introduce Sunday games at 6:30. That's an absolute shambles. It's disgusting.
I've got two views on this.
The 6:30 games on a Sunday to the fans who go to away games or a following away games.
It's going to be like a Northwest against a Southeast.
Newcastle,
like
Arsenal against Newcastle or something, and the Newcastle fans have to try and get back at 8:30 from London to Newcastle.
No, it's disgusting.
It's just another way of opening up another market based on the time zones of certain countries that can watch games.
Do you know what I think? And used to have worked in kind of organisations, if you like, that are a lot bigger. I've only worked in the Marines than myself, but in the Marines I witnessed it, right, and I might have made this analogy before, and this what feels like it's happened. When things happen in a workplace, on the ground. Those who are dealing with those, putting those fires out, are obviously the experts of what's going on. Yet somehow it happened in the military. Decisions would be made. So I'm dealing with a situation in Afghan, and I can kind of see what would happen to make things easier.
NHS is a classic one, isn't it?
Yeah. Yet somehow someone in Whitehall would go, I know.
Let's take this bit of kit off them and save 10 million or something.
This will help them all. Let's add that into them. And you're going, who's made this decision? No doubt you'll have it in, everyone will have examples of that. This is what this feels like. Someone at the very top has went, oh yeah, we'll just do that, make a few more quid on the money.
I was going to say, yeah.
That'll be it. No one's actually thought.
Do you know what I can imagine?
The fella who actually is travelling, you know, because that's the ironic thing about it. When these matches are getting put on the telly at 6:30, they're dead quick to have the atmosphere, aren't they, in the crowd and all that. But the people who are making that atmosphere are the ones now you're asking to travel fucking Sunday night.
Exactly what I was going to say. I really hope when it comes out that certain teams, home and away, just boycott the game and go, we're not going.
It'd be great if that. I can't see it, but it would be great, yeah.
And they have to put a little jag background noise on just to make it sound like they did in COVID.
Without bringing too much back to Liverpool again, but it does piss me off now with Liverpool, you know, it's such disdain on the fans sometimes with like whatever, like ticket prices and things like that. Yet they're the first to make all these videos of how amazing the cop looks and this and that, and you're like,
the marketing the fans.
Yeah, you're marketing us, but then you're treating us like shit, which is exactly what this 6:30 kickoff is doing.
But that's what this marketing thing is it's them saying, oh, but we're giving you more games. You should be happy that you're getting more games on telly. It's
the small percentage of actual fans who make it look the spectacle it is are actually losing out. I was just going to really selfishly say that I love a Sunday pint though. Like I do love an 4:30 Sunday kickoff.
The whole thing when in the Sunday where they have like a game every 2 hours.
If you're not going the game, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
It reminds me of one of my favourite Sundays. There was 3 derbies on. There was Liverpool, Everton, Newcastle, Sunderland, Birmingham, Villa, and it was United, Spurs. And it was like 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2 at 2 o'clock, and then 4:30. And I had 20 quid on them all to draw. Pays about 110 to 1, and they all drew.
Wow.
Sunday afternoon, started at 12, finished at fucking whatever, $2,000 up. Best Sunday ever. But yeah, on the whole, absolutely shocking for football fans.
Going back on obviously attendances, just I guess a bit of a comparison and to put things into context in terms of Saudi and football in this country. Henderson's last match was attended by less than 1,000 people.
It's a joke. And you know what? It makes him coming out in the Athletic, giving it the big one. I was doing it for, to spread the football message. It just makes that argument.
Why didn't he go and play for Hartlepool then? Or go and play for a local
just made himself sound even more ridiculous because, less than 1,000. You've gone from playing 60,000 people at Anfield to 900 odd now.
No.
Like, I don't care. And you know what? I know money's important, I get that. But it's not as if he was skint. How much money... Listen, we'll never know. He's never going to admit it. But... there's got to be a bit of him sitting there thinking, all right, it's great this money, but this is a bit shit.
It's a bit boring this, yeah.
This is
and out of those 1,000 people, and I'm not generalising here and trying to disrespect the Saudi football fans, but how many of them are really that arsed? Are they really proper fans?
And how many of them even know who he is?
Yeah.
Not to be disrespectful to Henderson, but he's not Ronaldo, is he?
Yeah.
He hasn't been brought in because of the name. Yeah, That's mad. The lowest National League attendance was 1,185 and he's playing for less than that. He was Liverpool's captain. He's won the Champions League, he's won the Premier League, and he's playing for the 900 people.
Klopp did say last week, by the way, and not to go against your points or whatever, he said that he firmly believes if he'd have told Henderson that he has a part to play this year, that he would have stayed, but he couldn't give him that assurance.
Fair play for Klopp, for being honest.
Yeah, he said like, he come to me or whatever, and he was getting frustrated that he'd been put on the bench a few times, and he asked me, "I'm going to be featured next year?" And he said, "I can't promise you." He said from that moment on, he said he was always going to leave.
Maybe that's why, because he knew he had this absolute gem of Somersley coming in. I was lucky enough to go to a night with Klopp, if you like, and this was before the ball was kicked, and we'd only actually signed Somersley at this point, I think. Oh no, we might have signed McAllister as well. But no one knew anything. I mean, I didn't even know anything about him. And he got asked about him. And Klopp was like, this lad is, he's young, but he's already got great leadership qualities. And he said he knows he's good. He's a good-looking lad. He knows he's good-looking. He's got that kind of air of confidence about him. He likes to put himself about. He wants to be the main man. And I don't know, when Klopp was talking, maybe this is because I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm excited by whatever Klopp says, but he just had a bit of a glint in his eye and his tone. I was thinking, oh, this lad might be good. And he's proved exactly that.
Player of the month.
He's, player of the month. Just looks a baller. It just looks like, you know, and I think maybe past players, you know, we had Keita, without being too harsh, and I wasn't his biggest fan, but he felt like the number 8, you know, weighed him down a bit. Szoboszlai's like, it's as if he's kind of went, Gerrard, so what? Come on, I'm Dominic Szoboszlai, I'm going to take it on, and he has. He's been absolutely brilliant. So maybe that's why Henderson didn't get told any reassurances from Klopp, because Klopp knew something that we didn't, which was great. On to signings then as well, if you like, or signings that have just gone. It's come out this week as this Champions League this week. We won't comment on the United Bayern game as it's not happened yet. We're recording this Wednesday afternoon. No doubt Kane has probably bagged a couple.
Hopefully.
It's come out this week that he has a buyback clause. Another prediction. FIFA listening, now Bayern are listening. I think that was pretty obvious though, wasn't it? I mean, we kind of detailed for Kane if he did listen.
This is what you should do, yeah.
And it
go
sounds
go and scratch the itch of trophies, go and have a little go at the Champions League, maybe a season or two, then come back to the Premier League and finish what you started.
He could genuinely do 2 seasons there, win top goal scorer in Bayern for 2 seasons. He could win 2 league titles. He might win a domestic cup or 2. And he's got a shot at least playing in the Champions League final again, maybe winning it. Goes back to Tottenham, scores another 40 goals that's needed, becomes top Prem scorer, retires a Tottenham legend. There's your statue. See you later.
Smashed it. So legacy, he's ticked it all, hasn't he? Ticked every box probably.
I mean,
and that them 2 years probably carry him into the next.
And he's still going to be 32 when he gets back. 32, 33.
33, yeah.
It won't take him more than 2 seasons to break that record. By the way, if he comes back,
no.
He retires at 35. He's done.
And the other thing is, if Tottenham have got the money to pay that buyback clause, that suggests they're probably in a decent position as well.
The only thing is, if Tottenham start the way they have done, and 2 years ago, he's can I come back? And Ange went, you know what, we were playing a completely different way now.
Yeah.
We don't want you. That would be interesting.
Someone else would sign him, wouldn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah. Tottenham have been great, by the way. I think.
I like. Yeah, he's bossed. He's a proper.
And again,
personality, and he
bigging you up too much as well. You almost actually said, you know,
it's exactly what they need. Yeah.
How, you know, they're gonna rather than having just one man they rely on, they're gonna mix it up, play as a team, and
they've done that.
They're doing just that.
It's mad that the effect it can have on players, that isn't it? When you take away that talisman, you've either got to step up, haven't you, or you struggle. The argument is, and I think it was definitely something I said, as soon as you take Kane out of there, you put Maddison there, Maddison's going to get on the ball, you start to release and rely a bit more on the players who've got pace, and the likes of Kulusevski, who's been a little bit better in recent weeks. Son has been miles better.
Son I think stepped up as a leader as well. You've seen him with Richarlison. He come out this week and said he's having a few problems off the field. He takes the pen, and Son at the end is like, look at him, you know what I mean? I think real leadership qualities, and I think you're right, everyone's just stepped up and replaced that Kane void, haven't they?
And the managers obviously plays a huge part in that, hasn't he, in terms of just giving them confidence, and even just everything he says, I really like him. You know, he's dead honest, and I love the question he got asked the other week was, you know, some of the Tottenham fans are getting a bit carried away, and
saying that,
what do you think? And he went, great, let them get carried away. I hope they are. That's what we're here for them to get excited.
Listen, if you can only celebrate your team when they win the Premier League, if you like, so that means only one team in the whole country fans can get excited.
No one can,
What the fuck's the point in that?
No, it's too huge. Imagine being an Evertonian for 30 odd years.
We've got as well this week. Pissed me off when, you know, I mean, I done it with my footy better. We had on the Patreon betting show, like I say, we got 5 out of 6. When the away team let us down, which was Birmingham, hindsight, I said, I should have just put Brighton in. You know what I mean? When they beat United, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Solskjaer's come out this week and said, you know, we nearly signed Haaland before he went there. We nearly signed Rice, but he was a bit too expensive. We nearly signed Casiero.
Sure, was a cover.
Do you know what? He won't be mentioning all the other players that were crap that he thought were good, going to be good, and he hasn't got.
Yeah.
He's come out giving it all that. I do think Rice, when it's said and done, will be too expensive though.
No, I don't.
Do you know?
Again, obviously we're going to touch on Everton in a moment, and Everton were really poor at the weekend. But the key difference between them last season and this season is Rice.
Really, yeah.
And
I've not seen enough of them yet.
I spoke to an Arsenal fan podcast in the week before it. Anyone wants to watch it, it's on our channel. But he was waxing lyrical about him, saying he's been man of the match in 3 out of the 4 league games.
I stand corrected then.
He's just made a massive difference. I think it's more his influence. Sorry. And he just gives them he's that calming influence. He controls the game. He dictates the pace. You know, off the ball, he'll kind of dictate when they're going to go aggressive and press and when they're going to drop off. He said they just haven't really had that. He said Xhaka was kind of the closest to that, but you never knew when Xhaka was going to lose his head and take someone out and get sent off.
Yeah.
Whereas he'd just been a solid influence in there. I mean, look, what is too expensive, but...
Yeah, no, it's interesting. You know what is also interesting as well on midfielders like that, and I don't know the age range, maybe similar, I don't know. I'm surprised to see Curtis Jones. Liverpool's made 100 appearances.
It's mad, isn't it? Been a lot off the bench, wouldn't he? You'd imagine, I think.
I know, but I still view him as like this raw 90. I don't know how old he is, maybe.
Well, Klopp trusts him now, though, doesn't he? He plays a lot of minutes now. He played quite a lot of minutes on the sly last season, didn't he?
And when you think about it, like when we won the League Cup, he was playing from early on because he was still classed as one of the younger players getting his minutes. But then, because he was playing well in those games,
he was getting minutes.
He was then
well.
getting.
I think he still does split opinion though, and Liverpool fans are still don't know.
Without doubt. My mates are probably more in the camp of they don't like him or they don't think he's good enough. But
it is such a strange one.
He's always had that inner confidence in himself, and I think that's what Klopp likes. You know, you're talking about Soboslai, why he's having himself and he carries it well. Curtis Jones is exactly the same, and he always has been. He's always believed that he is the best player on the pitch.
He still looks to me like he needs to fill out a bit. Maybe that's why I think of him as a young.
Which is funny because he was always the opposite way around when he was a kid.
Really,
he was always trying to lose the weight, the puppy fat and stuff, and he was. I wouldn't say he was overweight, but he was always struggling a little bit with that.
I mean, how old is he now?
22, is he?
Yeah, so he's not like 18, 19,
21,
is he,
21. 21.
I just think you look at Soboslai, he just seems a bit of a unit.
21
compared to like Curtis Jones, but I'm a fan of him. I like him.
22.
Is he? Yeah.
I like him. I hope he does kind of come good. I mean, listen, someone said to him, you're going to get 100 appearances with Liverpool. I mean, you're not complaining, are you?
Amazing.
And win everything in the process.
Yeah, not half. Do you want to? Should we leave Everton till last? Because I think this might make you want to storm out at some point. We'll do them last. We'll touch on the other couple of football and stuff first. Starting with a team just round the corner from us, Marines FA Cup win over Spennymoor in the National League North. They won 2-1. They got higher in the next round. Attendance of 660 people, only 300 less than Hendo's game. I mean, it's just great. We spoke on the Patreon.
Yeah, we did. But you know what? The first time, and I mean, it's the first time, I live very, very close. I'd say I probably live half a mile away from the grounds. The first time ever last night, I heard the roar of the goal. I was like, I had the bedroom window open, and I was like, I didn't know they were playing last night, to be fair. I would have went down, but Jen was like, what was that noise? I went, must be Marine.
Do you know who won't have heard the roar from a goal who lived close to a stadium? Anyone near Goodison? Hey!
God,
we'll come on to that in a minute. No, but it's great. Hide in the next round. And listen, for those who aren't on Patreon, we spoke in depth about what a kind of local football club can do to a community, etc. And I think Marine are the epitome of that. They had Spurs down there a few years ago. It'd be great if they can do another little run like that in the FA Cup.
Absolutely.
And again, if Hendo
has it in the same league as well, so it's very, very much an opportunity. It's the second to last qualifying round, so as Neil, who's part of the podcast, was saying, it's like the semi-final of the FA Cup, really.
Yeah.
As in, like,
to get in it properly, yeah. If Henderson, George, if you are listening, lads,
you can get down to Marine and
you'll have a big impact on football here, and there's only 300 less than you're playing in front of now. So I reckon the people at Crosby would have a whip round and give them
100%,
a couple of quid.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But no, great. Good luck to Marine in the next round for that. The other one as well, I've seen on the Champions League this week. By the way, buzzing that Champions League's back. Just so happy to see that.
Yeah.
You're seeing João Felix. It was someone who, for years, you were just like, wow, this kid's going to be unbelievable. And it's never really... When he was at Atletico, I thought he showed glimpses, but then to me, never kicked on.
I honestly think it was Simeone. I just think
that got the best out of him?
No, I think with Simeone that's restricted him.
Dampened him.
Yeah, I just think he's such a hard coach to play for as a forward. You need to fit in and tuck in and stuff and be defensively robust, and then you may be allowed to flourish, but generally you just have to fit into that system, don't you? And
here's one for you then.
Things you're expected of.
If you're an attacking player like João Felix, and you're going to be kind of harnessed a little bit, but you've got a defensive tactician like Simeone, who, okay, you can't guarantee trophies, but you know that if you're all pulled together, you probably got a good chance of winning. Are you wanting to kind of move on and showcase your talent somewhere else, or are you wanting to think,
I think he did bear with it for that reason. I think he thought, I can see us achieving something here. But once you don't, and then you start getting put on the bench, it's like...
And then you get loaned out.
Yeah, exactly.
That documentary on Atletico, by the way, when Trippier's in it with Simeone, unbelievable. Simeone's documentary, unbelievable watch. I'd love to play for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's my kind of coach, but again, I wasn't anything like a João Felix, do you know what I mean?
No.
I was a grafter, and I loved just putting the work in, and I just buzz off making a tackle. But yeah, I think for the... listen, Barca is the place you want to go.
Well, yeah, if you're that type of player,
the fans love that, and the coaching he's going to get there, and the style of play, perfect. And listen, Barca got an outside little...
I know, people aren't talking about them enough, Xavi, the manager, now got them playing. I think Lewandowski, I think you get him. I want
if they can just have, and they've started to keep clean sheets in La Liga as well. They kept a clean sheet last night, won by 5. Antwerp, obviously not a great league, Belgium, but I think they're top of their league. Listen, Barcelona just as a bit like yourselves, unfortunately, just seem to just turn it on in that competition, don't they? And they can always turn up.
I think on the Champions League as well, did you see, cost my bet dearly, Atletico Madrid's 1-1 draw with Lazio? 94th minute, 95th minute might have been. Lazio keeper comes up. Great header, by the way.
Great finish.
Not the first time he's done it either, apparently.
Second time he's done it in Europe.
So unbelievable to salvage him.
Point.
A 1-1 draw. But yeah, just buzzing at the Champions League's back.
You said before the show, didn't you, Muskie? Would you be up for sending your keeper up? I think for me, yeah.
For those type of moments, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it's the 94th minute. I think the coaches looked at it and looked, this is probably the last kick of the game here, and
let's salvage a point.
I don't know why it doesn't happen more though in like just normal games in the Prem. Or if it's 0-0, it's just a normal game.
It depends on your situation though. If you could potentially go down or miss out on a place just on a goal,
factor, isn't it? How often is it that the game is that you're 1-0 behind, you get a corner in the very, very last minute? I think all them things need to come together, don't they? As Muskie said, goal difference can be key.
I've seen a quote with Ferguson once though, and Ferguson said, if you're going to lose 1-0, you may as well lose 6-0. Like, fucking go for it.
Well, but that's easy when you're at the top of the league, isn't it? When you know that generally, when was the last time the Premier League was settled on goal difference? It's points, isn't it? Points. But
on that though, I seen on the Newcastle game, I watched it. I don't know who was commentating on it, but
the AC Milan game.
Yeah, they had a corner in the last minute, like it was like the last kick of the game, and Kieran Trippier, he's like, "That's everyone get in the box," and the commentator's going, "I'd just be doing a short corner now." I was like, this is the last kick of the game.
Yeah, there's no way they can...
They're not going to go up the other end and score.
So much so that it went out for another corner and he blew up.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But the commentator was going, oh God, I just played short. Why? You got a chance now to nick it at the death. Go for it.
It's mentality of the coach, isn't it? Generally, I think that dictates whether you're going to send your keeper up.
Musk, what time are we on? Because we've got...
Just under the hour.
We've got to talk about Everton, obviously, but also Joe Thackeray got involved on Patreon. Don't forget, get involved on Patreon. You get our property show with Kieran, you get our chat, me, Musk and Gary on a Wednesday, and you get the betting tips, and you can also suggest what we talk about on the pods. And Joe Thackeray got in touch this week, and he said, right lads, buzzing these shows are back, here's one for you both, and maybe it's one for the Sportscast. But which footballer seems to be universally highly rated or has had an impressive CV, but you've never really rated? He said for him, is Vidal and Morata.
Yeah, I mean... don't necessarily agree with Morata. Like, I think Morata's...
He won the World Cup, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's won the World Cup and he's consistently scored goals.
He never done good at Chelsea, though, did he?
Yeah, but a lot of players have maybe... I say he never done good. I think he... Again,
I know what he means,
in different periods where I think he plays under 2 managers or something, but I think they maybe got the best out of him. But Vidal, I kind of get where he's coming from with that.
Spadal's CVs is that. I tell you one he's not mine, but I think he'd be a lot of people's. And I've heard a few footballers say this, and his CV is second to none. PK.
Really, yeah.
There's a bit of a thing in football, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's listening, I've seen a few footballers on podcasts say that, like, basically, PK was kind of like, he was lucky to be in a team.
He just happened to be in a really good team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bit like a Jimmy Traore who's won the Champions League, you know what I mean? It's a bit like, but just to, I mean, I think he's, great PK, but apparently, like, he's not mine. That I've not rated. That is a tough one, isn't it?
It is a tough one, Zhang.
Because I guess the players who have got the CVs, generally speaking, are there and got the CVs because they are absolutely worldies. But I know it's a great question.
At the moment, it could be like Martinez for United, because as he came in, it was like he'd be great.
Centre back, you mean?
Yeah. But from just, again, don't watch loads of United, but from what I have seen of him, he hasn't kind of fit the bill of what he needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, PK there.
Especially because he's called a butcher. I haven't really seen him.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him butcher anyone yet.
Yeah, PK there, sorry, to go back to him. He won 37... No, he never, sorry. He won, 37 trophies.
Do you know who's probably one on the sly? And again, he has a bit of a stint in the Premier League. I just think he's someone who never really hit the heights. Cavani. You mentioned him before. Edson Cavani. I think loads of ability and whatever, but just never really, I don't think, showed up in the biggest moments. Can't remember him ever scoring a goal. It was like, that's it, that's won it for you. He went to PSG, didn't he, at that big move there.
I'd tell you one who's, but saying that, his CV's not even that great. I was going to say Neymar, but his CV's not even that great, is it? Although he is now Brazil's all-time top goal scorer, which takes some doing to beat Pele.
Yeah.
In terms of like where he could have been, you could.
I think he's more of a one via unfulfilled potential, isn't he?
Yeah, so that's kind of the difference. It's like, but then again, loads of people would have rated him a lot higher.
You know, a player on there when I've just quickly googled CV with trophies. Remember Maxwell for Barcelona?
Yeah.
He's got like about 40 trophies.
There'll be loads of Barcelona though, aren't there?
Yeah,
they just kind of hung around.
I'm trying to think of people in the Liverpool team who've got a decent CV, but actually never really rated. I mean, Jimmy Traore's got to be up there, hasn't he?
There'll be loads of United players from the 90s, don't there?
Yeah.
Phil Neville probably being one of them, admittedly. Like, bang average player, Phil Neville. He has an influence, but like CV, like
he's never a legend.
There's a song though, wasn't it? Because he had more medals than Steven Gerrard. Because he'll probably double or triple the amount of medals of Gerrard because of his time at United.
I'll tell you a controversial one. And by the way, I rate him. I think he's brilliant. David Beckham.
No way, lad. I'm not having that.
His CV reads better than he actually is as a footballer.
I don't agree with that. I think
he's brilliant.
He
was brilliant. But I'm saying in this argument,
watch him when he was at Madrid.
Oh no, lad!
Oh my god!
Especially when he was coming inside as well.
He's got some unbelievable assists with Ronaldo, by the way.
And to Guti. His assists to Guti were unbelievable.
All I mean though is when you're talking about CV, I mean, would he get in England's best ever midfield?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no question.
Wow.
Who's replacing him on the right?
Who's on the right?
John Barnes would probably be on the left, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'd have Gerrard, Bellingham, Barnes,
Beckham,
Scholes.
No one else has got to behave. Scholes on the right. Lampard on the right. No chance.
Stevie on the right.
Nobody's playing on the right ahead of him. No one.
I'm just thinking of pure CV wise because he's won quite a bit, hasn't he, Beckham?
If you take Beckham's celebrity out of it, I don't think you think he's overrated as a
maybe
footballer.
Not. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. Very
like
true.
I just think the age old thing of like world class. Could he do things that other people couldn't, and that's it. Tick. Like the way his ability, the way he used to strike a ball and hit a ball, and the passes he could make, and to be fair, his fitness, he was like that. People who played with him, like he got up and down the pitch. He was like one of the fittest.
Am I being harsh, right? Or I'm probably just thinking of him because of Chelsea. But Shevchenko, was he as good as his CV reads?
For Milan.
Yeah, he was immense at Milan. Like,
just think when we played them in 05, it was like he's definitely going to score that pen.
Yeah.
That
Like
was
that-
his reputation.
It was
His
like
reputation
nailed
precedes
on.
him.
That's
Yeah.
how good he was, and that's why it was
And,
like
yeah,
a freak that Liverpool
when
ended up
when
winning.
the Liverpool fan players talk about it, they say that, don't they? Like Shevchenko stuff, there was no doubt he was going to score in our minds. Crespo might be one on the sly, you know. Like not a Batistuta, was he? Do you know what I mean? Like you always put him almost in those sentences. There's another one who went to Chelsea and didn't really set the world alight. Don't know.
It's a good one. Anyone that you can think of that we've missed out on, we've named a few players there. Anyone that you think of, or you
Probably
completely
loads, by the way.
disagree with what we say, then let us know in the comments as well. It'd be interesting to know that. Player with a great CV that you've never really rated. Which brings us on to what we need to finish on, because it's actually quite a sad matter, if you believe some of the WhatsApps that have been flying around the city this week, is Everton's takeover from 777. Now, some of the rumours that are going around this week is Everton staff have been getting paid late. The club are losing more money per week than they're making per week. This new loan that's coming from 777 is 20 million, and it's simply just to cover the next couple of months. They're apparently losing £500,000 a day. All these are rumours, don't know how true any of them are, but it looks like Pickford might be getting sold in January. Dominic Calvert-Lewin might be getting sold. Administration's looming. It's not looking good. And as much as we like to joke Liverpool and Everton, I mean, that would be horrendous if they went into administration.
I think some of the rumours are slightly unsubstantiated but not unfounded. What I mean by that, there's a huge cash flow issue at Everton at the moment. I say it's been going on since Usmanov got sanctions, since the money stopped coming in from the sponsorships like USM, etc. There's been a huge cash flow issue at Everton. It's now got to the point where it's like critical, and that's why the sale, or the imminent sale, and obviously the sale's now been delayed because there's something hanging over 777 in relation to some investments in an English basketball that needs to be investigated. But at the moment, whatever your stance is on 777 and whatever you believe or whatever you want to believe about how legitimate or dodgy they are, they're keeping the club afloat. The loan that they've given to the state, it's provided to guarantee, as you say, the cash flow for the next few months. They've almost said, look, we'll stay there, and it does fit the narrative, what I've been told and what people are saying who know a little bit more about 777 partners, is the payday loan of sports clubs. They come in when you're most vulnerable and they go, right, we'll support you here, we'll support you there, but we want it at this point.
And you know, one thing I've learned in life as well is that, you know, when you're desperate, right, you make like weird decisions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Mashiri, I'm not saying he's like, you know, he's, you know, sitting on cash, he's asking for 20p when you walk past, but he's desperate to get rid of that club. And would he have went to 777 in ordinary circumstances? Probably not. And I think it just reeks of desperation of him wanting to get out the club. And it seems to me like 777 are the Wonga, if you like, just rubbing their hands going, we'll give you 20 mil, okay, here's what you're paying back on it.
Yeah.
And it's almost a bit like they're just ready to watch us fail. It feels a little bit like.
I don't think that's the case. I think if you look at it from an investment point of view, they know that by providing these short-term loans, they're putting themselves in a position where Everton can't refuse any advancement they make, and the, as you say, the interest that are maybe applying to these loans means that it's running down almost a tab, running up a tab that Mashiri,
they won't be able to pay.
Exactly. So they're not soft, but I think if you're going to get a return on that investment, you then need to turn it round. At your very least, you need to keep the club in the Premier League, and you need to pay for that stadium. So whatever you think about 777 at this moment in time, like it or not, and whatever those, I don't think all those rumours are true. The fact of the matter is they're keeping Everton afloat right now.
The other scary thing is though about the stadium, you know, it's to a point where if you believe some of these rumours about how dire the situation is for Everton, I've seen some stuff saying basically the stadium's going to be sold and then just leased back to the club, which is such a shame. You know, joking aside, it was all about Goodison and Woodison. It's falling apart. You get this amazing stadium and it's not even yours.
But it's sold almost with an option, isn't it? It's sold to like a group of investors, businessmen or whatever, to provide the infrastructure or the cash for the club to continue. It's not uncommon for a club to sell the stadium and lease it back. You
look at the problem that Coventry had with the Rico Arena.
Yeah, no, it's the start of a potentially the start of a slippery slope. It's certainly far from ideal, and it's not what we envisaged, but it's just proper Everton. Like,
are you worried?
I've learned by now to not get worried about things I can't control, and this is absolutely something I can't control. I'm not worried. I think it's sad, like you said at the start of the piece. It's sad, and it's unfortunate, and it's a terrible set of circumstances. But I think worry's the right word for me. I think a lot of Evertonians will be worried, and I think they've got
every right to be.
Every right
I
to
think
be
that what would worry me is the fact that it's one thing being dire off the pitch, but it's again dire on the pitch as well. 1 point now in the first 5 games. Granted, you played Arsenal last weekend. It's always going to be a tough game, but it's not as if, I don't know. I mean, you tell me.
I think what I would say, and where you're probably getting at as well, the players aren't blind. They're not deaf. They don't not go on social media. They don't get these WhatsApps probably forwarded to them by friends and family. It's not helping the situation.
No, it's not.
That we're in on the pitch, because you kind of think.
I think those players have got to think
point?
this is a sinking ship. Like, I think half that squad are probably on the phone to the agents saying,
yeah.
The second something comes in, get me out of here.
Good luck, because half of them are not good enough to go anywhere else. So there's probably a few of them. The few of the more sellable assets are, as you've just said, Pickford, Anana, maybe Brantwaite. Apart from that, none of them could get a move. Calvert-Lewin can't stay fit. Who's going to sign in for more than?
But I think the thing is, like you say with the players, I think it can work both ways. If Everton have got decent owners, they know they're going to get some money in January for new players, and they've got this big belter stadium to come, and Everton's going swimmingly off the pitch. It's at least something like a bit of a. It's not going great now, but look, we've got loads to look forward to. Let's get it together. Whereas at the minute, you aren't doing well on the pitch, and then everything off the pitch is just negative. I just think it can work as a positive, or it can work as negative. And at the minute, it's just one negative after another, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel right now.
I'm not trying to rub it in, by the way.
No, it's fine. No, it is hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel right now. I think all you can hope for is that the intentions of 777 are, listen, if they come in and they make themselves some money, but they keep the club in the Premier League and they keep the club moving forwards, then fine, so be it. We're not in a seller's market here. Do you know what I mean? It's
the only thing is, I wouldn't want anyone to think like these are going to be the perfect owner. Listen, the businessmen.
No, they're not. No.
Do you know what I mean? The ruthless businessmen who want to make money.
They're here. Do you know what I mean? They're here putting money in. So, but yeah, you're right. They are businessmen, and their fund is there to make returns for the investors. That's what it's there for. It's not.
Here's one to finish on then, and it goes out. Please let me know in the comments. Who would you say is the perfect club owner?
The perfect club owner?
I'd say in the Prem.
The way that the club structure is.
Let's say if you're supporting a team, from what we know of the Premier League,
you'd have to go with Brighton, wouldn't you? I always believe that the job of an owner or investors or whoever it is to put the right management team in who can create the right infrastructure that makes the club sustainable. Now, whatever you level at FSG, they've done that. Generally, they put in the right people at the top who then provide the right guidance, who put in the right infrastructure that mean that the results on the pitch, when you sell players, it put funds back into the club. It means the club runs itself without external investment. That should be what an owner does, or what a group of owners, or what that team at the top do.
I think for Liverpool owners, I think you could argue that they've been super successful. I think the one thing that fans would argue against them is they've made some poor errors of judgment, and they're so silly and they're so
PR
small.
ones, PR,
yeah. And
that they've had to backtrack on, and
for all the great work and the success they've had, furloughing the staff, or like putting the ticket prices up for a couple of quid, they would have made a few $100,000 on it, or the odd million. You think for those stupid little PR exercises, you've just muddied your name a little bit. Why didn't you just?
Yeah.
It is interesting to know who would be. You wouldn't obviously say, the Saudis. You got things have been done.
The Newcastle fans would say the Saudis, wouldn't he? Well, but
I just mean, ethically, morally, you wouldn't want your team.
Depends what your definition of a perfect owner is, though, isn't it? Like if you're
in an ideal world,
looking after the interest of your own club.
Okay, but in an ideal world with morals, you wouldn't want your team
you'd rather not.
The Saudi bloody kingdom, would you? Obviously, you wouldn't want the Glazers. You wouldn't want to cheat either, the way Man City have, or allegedly.
It's also like in terms of like the risk of them just getting off.
Yeah.
If it's one of those owners that just see it as a bit of a entertainment type thing.
Yeah, like Chelsea's, you know, you've got this guy who clearly knows nothing about foot. He's just spunked £1 billion and playing Championship manager in real life. I wouldn't really want him looking after my club. Aston Villa's owners, the American fellas, seem to be doing all right.
Yeah, they've done okay, yeah.
And I'd say Tony Bloom as well. He looks like, you know, he's a shrewd businessman who's clearly knows an eye for buying a player for fuck all and selling them for 100 mil.
Arsenal haven't done bad, have they? Generally, you know,
That's
Arsenal had their issues a few years ago. Ironically, when Bashiri was on the board, Usmanov, sorry, when Usmanov was on the board, and we inherited that one. Yeah, I don't think Arsenal fans can generally complain. I mean, Tottenham can't. I know they get frustrated with, you know, Levy's the CEO, but it's Lewis, isn't it?
They hate him though, you know.
It's Lewis who's the owner.
Yeah, they've got a brand new stadium, they do, yeah.
Exactly, they've got the best stadium in the league, I think.
Who's got the weekend as well?
We've got, oh my God,
Luton, isn't it?
No, it's Brentford away.
Brentford away.
Yeah, another 0 points. Newport.
Do you not think?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get it off Brentford at the weekend. I think they're the opposite of what we are at the moment.
Dynamic.
What?
Dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Energetic. They've got a style of play that the confidence in the manager's, you know, having himself.
I want to take you for a pint after this, lad. You look so tired.
I know, you've killed me having this at the end.
He's had energy for an hour.
It's a long podcast and then you throw that in right at the end.
I'm sorry, Gary, mate. I'm sorry. Listen, send Gary some well wishes. We'll leave it there then, lad. I don't want to bloody jumping in the maze on the way home. Right. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for the support. Get involved on the Patreon. You can suggest topics for the show. You get your betting tips. You get the Wednesday show. You get the show with Kieran. And again, you'd be supporting the boys, which we greatly appreciate. Have a boss weekend and see you next week.
Cheers.